Hey everyone, it's Lowery Smith of the Commander Smiths here, and I don't know what this is going to be called. Bring up a $550 order from Card Kingdom. I used I didn't spend any of my own money. This was all from specs and credit that I sent in to Card Kingdom, which is a really good way to get a bunch of cards. This will be about 150 different cards. There's some cool cards like this full art foil alt art Batterskull or this Omen machine. So there's going to be a bunch of cards, and let's just kind of crack into it a little bit. Let's go with the jank first, right? Okay, let's open that up. And excited for this. Always excited. And there we go. Card Kingdom is solid company. I always enjoy working with them a little bit. And let's see here. There you go. Let's get rid of the little styrofoams. I don't even know what that is, but it's a cool looking owl. I don't know what the fuck I'm supposed to do with that. Is it a sticker or something? All right. Okay. I'll try and explain why I got it. A lot of the jank is because I don't own it and I want to just fill out my collection and keep on using, try and find weird cards with corner cases and commander. It should be kind of cool. So Omen Machine is 6 mana artifact. Players can't draw cards. So that's kind of a cool, unique thing. A lot of people like drawing cards. So uh, let's stop that sometimes. At the beginning of each player's draw step, that player exiles the top card of his or her library. If it's a land card, that player puts it into the battlefield. Otherwise, the player casts it without paying its mana cost if able. So that's kind of potentially like a cheat card. I don't know where you could potentially play it. Maybe like Kalia, where you're already cheating cards into play, but could be fun. Righteous Fury. This is from a starter set for colorless white sorcery. Creatures. For each creature destroyed this way, you gain 2 life. So maybe this goes in a gain 2 life deck. Maybe I really enjoy the enchantment oppression or maybe opposition. It's blue. You can tap your creatures, which taps down opponent's creatures. And then once it's your turn, you don't tap any more of their stuff. You cast this, destroy a ton of creatures. Can be kind of a fun angle. Suleiman's Legacy. I think this is reserve list, and I didn't have one. So it destroys Djinns and Afrits, and when they come into play, also destroyed. So it's kind of bunged up, but it should be fine. All right, this is a long time coming. It's kind of beat up too, but Viashino Heretic. Old foils are only going to go up. They look gorgeous. The star down here is awesome. But I just wanted one of these for my collection. You can tap 2 red, tap it, destroy an artifact, and the CMC deals damage to that opponent. So it should be kind of cool. I didn't own Flicker. I like Flicker effects, so it removes target non-target permanent from the game. This can be anybody's too, and then return it to play under its owner's control. So kind of a cool card. Basically, it's named after this card. So I picked up 2 of those. Ooh, only got 1 of these, but the Phyrexian Swamps from Secret Lair is sweet. Maybe I got another one too somewhere in here. Keldon Firebombers. When it comes into the battlefield, each player sacrifices all lands he or she controls except for 3. I'm not a dickhead that does a lot of land destruction, but always nice to have the options. Skyship Weatherlight. It's another one I didn't have. Choose a card at random that was removed from the game with Skyship. Put that card into your hand. This is probably bad. Comes into play. Search your library for any number of artifacts and/or creature cards. Remove them from the game. Then shuffle your library. So maybe this is a way to like thin a deck so you don't want to be getting a ton of other stuff. What is it? Search your library for any artifacts and/or creatures. So it's probably a bad card. I'll probably never use it, but it's pretty cheap. Molten Influence, red colorless instant, counter target instant or sorcery spell unless its controller has Molten Influence, deal 4 damage to her. It's a counter spell in red, but choices generally don't go well. Divert is change the target of target spell with a single target unless its spell's controller pays 2. 1 blue, super cheap, should be usable for sure. Got 3 of those. Cabria Evangel. His ally never know when you're going to do an ally deck, but this one gives protection from the chosen color until end of turn. You can easily have a couple allies come into play and just make them all unblockable with this guy. Seems cool. I don't know why I bought two. Probably a mistake. Whenever an opponent shuffles his or her library, you may put a 1/1 counter on Kosai's Trickster. Again, there's plenty of fetches, plenty of tutors. Maybe you're in a Merfolk deck, maybe in a Wizard deck. Could be kind of fun. Cool. Let's see what next one. Nature's Resurgence. Each player draws number of cards equal to the number of creature cards in his or her graveyard. Kind of a cool. Maybe it works in a Marin Clan Noltoth deck, or maybe Muldrotha, where you're milling a ton of creatures. It could be kind of cool. Dwarven Thaumaturgist. This is a dwarf. They've been kind of pushing that stuff lately. This is reserve list, and you tap it, switch power and toughness of target creature until end of turn. When Magda came out, I want to say this jumped up definitely like over 10, probably 20, and it's back down to like $3-4. So definitely worth getting. And there's a Merfolk style like this from like Morning Tide too. Almost the same exact card, but it's a dwarf, kind of cool. Kirian Druid, also reserved list. Green tap, target land becomes a 2/2 green creature permanently. That land still counts as a land. So I think you want to be putting this towards like opponents' lands, and so if they're removable at that point. So kind of cool niche card. Pygmy Hippo, that is also reserved list. When it attacks and is not blocked, you may choose to have it deal no combat damage this turn. If you do, defending player draws all mana from his or her lands, and the mana pool is emptied. After combat, add an equal amount of colorless mana to your mana pool. So that's kind of like a cool version of what is that? The stealing mana short. So that can be, is that mana short? Power drain? There's a blue card that does something similar to this. And I think this could just be a really cool effect that can ramp a green blue deck, which doesn't really need it anyway. But cool card, reserve list. Check it out. Super cheap, Sulfuric Vapors. Whenever a red spell deals damage, it instead deals the amount of damage +1. Maybe this goes in a Dragon's Approach deck. Torbrand probably really likes this because it just stacks and stacks and stacks. Super cheap as well. One of my favorite white ramp cards is Planar Birth. I just wanted more of them. I think I only have 2. Now I got 5. Put all basic lands from all graveyards into play under their owner's control tapped. And so if you're discarding lands, your fetches don't work, but at basic lands. So it's kind of a cool card. I've really enjoyed it. Endless Worm. 9/9 trample for 5. During your upkeep, sacrifice an enchantment or sacrifice Endless Worm. So you want this in an Enchantress deck, Rancor, sacrifice Rancor, comes back into your hand, put it back on it or whatever. Cool card for sure. Sataniel Hero Plants. Fance. It's a 3/2. Each creature you control gains tap, add green to your mana pool, play this ability as a mana source. So it's just kind of like another card that allows your creatures to tap for mana and can be kind of fun. A Sataniel Flute. You can pay X, tap it, search your library for a creature card with total casting cost greater than X, reveal that card and put it into your hand. So you're putting into your hand. Maybe you want to be able to cheat it out like, Kalia the Vast, but that's a lot of mana in general. But it's kind of like an old bad tutor and can be kind of fun. Maybe this works in a Zerta deck where it's reducing evasion cost by 2. I don't know. Catastrophe. This destroys all lands and all creatures. Creatures destroyed this way can't be regenerated. So this is probably, again, I don't like mass land destruction at all, but it's good to have. Acidic Soil deals 1 damage to each player for each land he or she controls. Cool card for sure. I wanted one of those. Goblin Marshal Echo, which kind of sucks, but when it comes into play, you put 2/1 goblins into creatures into play. Could be cool in Cranko decks. I really haven't played a goblin deck in a long time, but good to have. It's an old card. They haven't reprinted it. Skull Scorch, red sorcery. Target player discards 2 cards, or they can have 4 damage dealt to them. Red doesn't really have discard effects, but could be cool. Radiate. This is an instant. Choose target instant or sorcery spell that targets only a single permanent or player. For each other permanent or player that spell could target, put a copy of the spell into the stack. Each copy targets a different one of those permanents and players. So it's a big Zada or Moonveil dragon. Is it Moonveil? So like it just doubles the amount. So if it's just like a 1 mana draw a card and this card gets trample or first strike or whatever in red, then that would copy it for every creature and you'd be drawing like 10 to 20 cards. This seems like it'd be kind of cool. Instant speed. We'll see what happens. Pegasus Refuge. There's tap 2, choose and discard a card. Put a Pegasus token into play. Treat it as a 1/1 flying. Um, I don't really like the discard part, but it's something that I didn't have. It's super cheap, totally worth getting. Invasion Plans. This kind of went up with when Naeth came out because each creature blocks whenever able, and so everybody has to block, and you're going to be able to draw 1 card that way. Attacking player chooses how each creature blocks, and that's kind of nice to be able to control combat in that way too. It's another Phyrexian Swamp. Lethal Vapors is getting a lot of momentum. This is like I want a $4 to $6 card. But what you do with this is whenever a creature comes into play, destroy it, and then you can pay 0, destroy lethal vapors, skip your next turn. Any player may play this ability. And so what you want to do is make it so that people can't pay activations on your turn or play spells or whatever. And then you can do this a million times and then it's destroyed. And then you peace out with Teferi's protection. And then everybody draws out the game. They can't really beat you unless they're doing like a bunch of hoops. So kind of a cool card. We'll see if I ever use it. Molten Psyche. Each player shuffles the cards from his or her hand into his or her library, then draws that many cards. And then if you have 3 or more artifacts, it deals damage to each opponent. So this is kind of like a Nekosar All-Star. I'm sure I haven't built that card, but having wheels is having wheels, and options are sweet. Bloodbond March. Whenever a creature spell is played, each player returns all cards with the same name as that spell from his or her graveyard to play. So this is green black. Why would you do that? You're not going to have a lot in Commander that do that. But there is the what's that? There's that black Shadowborn Apostle, and you can have as many of them in your deck. And so maybe you sacrifice them, put a demon into play, then you have another one, and then you get to bring from his or her graveyard to play. Put them all back into play. That seems crazy, crazy good in that deck specifically. Otherwise, it's not good. Troublesome Sprite, Spirit. At the end of your turn, tap all lands you control. This is probably cool in a gifting. Don't want this, but you might want to give it to your opponents. So thought it'd be cool. Got 2 Vexing Shushers. Promo foils. They are gorgeous, and I like them a lot. I got the card, so I got these, and so I'll trade my other non-foils away on Card Sphere, which I always highly recommend. Also, Shriekmaw, one of my favorite cards. And just wanted to upgrade what I had. Sewers of Estark. So this is an instant. If target creature is attacking, it cannot be blocked until end of turn. Play before defense is chosen. If target creature is blocking, it and all creatures it blocks do no damage during combat. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I just know it's a book promo, and maybe, highly, it's not desirable. It's probably not very good, but we'll see. I've been playing Harrow more and more, kind of like Calamax loves it, and so I wanted some pimped versions of it. Harness the Storm. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand, you may cast target card with the same name spell from your graveyard. I am working on a Dragon's Approach deck. This works very well with it if you go that route, and we'll see. Garuk Wildspeaker, just a pimp version. This is like a play or like an Xbox promo that was given out at game stores a while ago. Pretty cool. Upgrading the Everflowing Chalice. I like the card. I just don't use it a lot, so I only want one, and when I do play it, I'll have a cool version of it. Even Mind Sensor. I love this card. These are the in-store promos. I want to say this was under $1, under 2 for sure. But it's old bordered foil. It looks gorgeous. So very cool. Sunken Hopes, enchantment at the beginning of each player's upkeep. That player returns a creature he or she controls to his or her hand. I kind of like this effect because if you put it in like a morph deck, um, uh, if you put it in a morph deck, you can reset your morph and stuff like that. Got some people in the chat right now, so we'll go back. Hey Dustin, so let's go. I didn't notice anybody was on. Sorry. So Shriek Mod, this is a Lorwyn promo, and it is gorgeous for sure. I don't know why they did this version. There was a couple in Ravnica that were like this as well, the original block, and so promo foil, and I would say check those out. And just like I was saying, there's the vexing shushers that are like that as well. So and oh, but, Mr. Parks, he's like, "There's a pygmy hippo." Yeah, there is. And actually, where are they? So I was on another podcast, and we were debating on what cards we wished were legends. And Big Tuck wished this was a legend, and I was like, that would be genius. And I wanted to pick more up. Reserve list. I think it's a really cool card. So let's see there. All right. So Forsaken City. Yeah, old foils are super pretty, aren't they, Mr. Parks? Forsaken City, untap. It doesn't untap during your untap step. So why do I like this? At the beginning of your upkeep, you may remove a card from your hand from the game. If you do, untap it. Add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. This is one of those cards that seems powerful, but it might never come to fruition, and it's cheap. It's super cheap from what I remember, and so might as well get it because it's something that could be cool. Dodgement. Until end of turn, creatures you control gain protection from white if you control planes, blue, island, so on and so forth. This is an instant, and so 5 color decks might like this. It's a nice way to get your creatures through if you're attacking. So thought it was kind of cool. Got 2 of those. Timbermare, super cheap, is probably jank, but when it comes into play, tap all other creatures. That's including your own. It has Echo, so you're probably going to want to attack and then probably not pay the 6 the next turn. There's Thundermare, that's red, that does this for it's 6 mana instead of 4. And so, they're playing off that. Planar Chaos was cool. Peer Pressure, sorcery. Choose a creature type. If you control more creatures of that type than any other player, you gain control of all creatures of that type. So I don't know where I'd put this. Maybe in a humans deck, maybe in a wizards deck. Something that has a lot of maybe merfolk. Merfolk's not. It's either merfolk in the deck or not, but something generic. So like humans, wizards. And so that should be cool. Kind of play around with and see where it can go. Paradic Miner. You can sacrifice this card. Target player can't play lands this turn. Another dwarf. They seem to be kind of talking. They push it more and more. It's at least getting attention. Maybe you have something that can bring it back super easy. You're probably not going to be able to do it to the table, but kind of a cool card. Ernest Fellowship. Enchantment. Each creature has protection from its colors. And so I just thought that was a cool enchantment as well. You can, you don't want to put this in like an aura deck because it won't help you that way. But, getting through in combat can be really helpful. But it also helps your opponents. So, Decaying Soil enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, remove a card in your graveyard from the game. Threshold. Whenever a non-token creature is put into your graveyard from play, you may pay 1. If you do, return it to your hand. I thought this is kind of a cool way of potentially like just bringing, keeping good card advantage, not having your stuff die. Might work in Yawgmoth or something like that. Kind of a cool card. All right. Balancing Act is a fantastic card. This is on color Teferi's Protection, where you don't, you cast this Teferi's Protection on top of it. You peace out. Everybody sacrifices all their stuff. It's a sweet card. Xenographed, I just didn't, enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Each creature you control is the chosen type in addition to its other types. So, it's conspiracy, it's Maskwood Nexus. It's, there's a couple of effects that are similar to this, and I just didn't have this one. And I don't even know if that's any good. All right, that is box one. And we have the second one here. And the cool thing about the Batter Skull, I'll talk about that right off the bat. It was basically the same price as the non-foil. So I definitely went with the foil on Card Kingdom. And we'll see. It's pretty. It's pretty. I'm happy about this. And actually, I think I got another one too. I got a Judge promo. Maybe. We'll see. All right. So we already did Batter Skull. That's a sweet card. It's lovely. It's gorgeous. Double Masters. This stuff was so cool. All right. Dividing Witch. Got two of those. This was in one of the Discords that was talking about it. Travis was. And Colorless Black. This is just like Demonic Consultation, but on a stick and super cheap, under $1. Totally worth just getting in Cryptoplasm. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may have it become a copy of another creature. If you do, Cryptoplasm gains this ability. So you can change it to the best creature, any other creature, anything. Seems really cool, nifty. And it's cheap as well. I don't know where I'd put it, but kind of cool. I've been looking for a second Sunrise in a long time. Going to be great in Oscar, where you're just sacrificing permanents all left and right, or it's a really cool card. So each player returns to play all artifacts, creatures, or enchantments, and land cards that were put into his or her graveyard from play this turn. It's a cool card. Something that I wanted to get. Smokestack. This is a FTV foil. And is old school. Again, this is Stacks card. I don't know if I'll ever really play it, but at the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a soot counter on Smokestack. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices a permanent for each soot counter on Smokestack. So you're always kind of getting the advantage because you can always sacrifice Smokestack, and then you don't have to worry about it. Plagiarize, 9th edition foil. Until end of turn, if target player would draw a card, instead that player skips that draw and you draw that card. So, I mean, 4 mana's quite a bit, but there's also, couple band card, Leovold's band, Hullbreacher's band. And so these kind of cards can be kind of cool. If somebody goes to wheel, you can play this in response, or if they go to play a brainstorm, you're drawing 3 and they're putting 2 from their hand on top. That's a big swing right there too. Just kind of a cool card, and I just wanted it in my arsenal. Cabal Master. I don't know. It's Cabal's. It's expensive because they're from Legends, but I don't know. I'll probably never get this. Sedge Sliver. I kind of wanted this card for a long time. It was expensive until they reprinted it here. Slivers is slivers. I probably won't build it in a long time. Squall Line. This is a cool card because it's an instant, but it deals X damage to each creature with flying and each player. So I kind of like that, especially if you're not playing a lot of flyers. It's a good way to angle it. And instant speed is sweet. Bone Crusher Giant. This version was like 25 cents. It's a really cool card. It might be a little underpowered, but I liked it in Calamax, and I'm willing to see if it works in other decks too. Victory's Envoy. The beginning of your upkeep, put a 1/1 counter on each other creature you control. It's 5. It's probably a little expensive, but putting 1/1 counters on stuff is in that type of deck seems good. Death Bellow Warcry. Search your library for up to 4 Minotaur creatures, cards with different names. Put them into the battlefield, then shuffle your library. So I don't play a lot of tribal decks. Even though I've said like, hey, I'm getting these cards, this works in these tribal decks, I don't get them. But this could kind of work, if I ever wanted to do a Minotaur deck, this is kind of a necessity. But also this works with like changelings, and you can go and get those into play if you have that kind of deck. So this is kind of a cool way of thinking about that as well. Or Maskwood Nexus as well. You got Mana Severance. Search your library for any number of land cards, remove them from the game, shuffle your library afterwards. This is a sweet card. This is reserved list. Totally like shit. You can just go like Mana Severance, your entire deck, only have Boss's Oracle left. You draw that, cast it, win the game. Seems cool to me. Um, Volrash Shapeshifter is also a reserve. As long as the top card of your graveyard is a creature card, uh, it is a copy of that card, except that Volrash Shapeshifter retains this ability, and then you can pay to choose and discard a card. This has some dirty little combos with it, and I've seen this card spike up to like $20, $30, and right now it's under 5. So more than willing to get that at that price. Sword of the Chosen. Target legend gets +2/+2 until end of turn. This is anybody's legend, but I want this to go in my Glen deck because, Glen gets through at 1 power. Nobody, maybe they don't block it, and then you can tap it, give it +2/+2, and then draw 2 extra cards beyond that. Cool card. Crackle with Power. Over in the Exile Discord, one dude talks about this like all the time, and so I want to just kind of get it. Looks cool. Crackle with Power deals 5 times X damage to each of up to X targets. It's a lot of mana, so we'll see if I ever get there. Forgotten Creation. It's a horror. I'm just picking it up, see if I can get it in my Umbrus deck. 3/3 Skulk. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may discard all the cards in your hand. If you do, draw that many cards. We'll see. Cemetery Puka. 1/2. Whenever a creature is put into a graveyard from play, you may pay 1. If you do, this becomes a copy of that creature and gains this ability. So kind of like that Cytoplasm, but in a death version of it. So I was just thinking it's kind of a cool card. Sphinx's Decree. Probably shouldn't have gotten this. Each opponent can't cast instant or sorcery spells during that player's next turn. We'll see. Blood Letter Quill. This is not a good card. This is super jank. But tap 2, tap it, put a blood counter on it, draw a card, then lose 1 life for each blood counter on Blood Letter Quill. And then you can pay blue black, remove a blood counter from Blood Letter Quill. That's a tongue twister. If you did not know, they wrote a tongue twister onto a magic card. There are some cool cards that can take away counters, and there's plenty of cards that have counters that you don't want on there. So in this figurative imaginative deck, this would go in there, but there isn't anybody that does that. Tempered Steel, I've wanted this for a long time. The full art foils, and they're just cool. And every once in a while, I'll probably send 3 of them away, plus my other 2 that are non-foil. Whenever artifacts spikes something in Legacy or Modern, good way to go. Oh, I forgot I fucking got this card. Whew, this is a Judge promo, Sword of Light and Shadow. This is gorgeous. I love this. Equipped creature gets +2/+2, protection from white and black. Whenever it deals damage, you gain 3 life and can bring a creature card from your graveyard back into play or back to your hand. Equip 2. Swords are super awesome. This is awesome. It was 2012. Yeah, this looks gorgeous. I forgot I got that. That's awesome. All right. And this was 50, $60, I want to say. So yeah, super baller. Totally. Simic Ascendancy. This is a win if you have 1/1 counters on stuff. I just wanted the promo version of it because I don't ever play it. So if I play it, I want the promo version. Saheli, Sublime, Artificer. This is like $2-3, somewhere in that range. But I really like it. You get to create 1/1 servos for each non-creature spell you create. That can be in Spellslinger decks. That can be in artifact decks. It's one of my more favorite Planeswalkers from War of the Spark. Wanted the promo Lotus Bloom. It looks gorgeous. Old frame foil. This is from the Time Spiral Remastered. Got 2 Llanowar Elves because if you're going to use them, you want them to look awesome. And this is definitely more than I wanted to pay for it. I think it was around $8. Kind of hurts when you're paying $8 for a Llanowar Elves, but that's fine. That's fine. It looks fucking sweet, right? All right, Judge promo Karlov the Ghost Council. Really good price on this versus all the other like Judge promos that are coming out with this. I think it was around in between 20 and 30. Whenever you gain, Karlov is Karlov. If you don't know, read up on him. It's a great commander. Got the Mecha Godzilla version of Hangerback Walker. Cool card, cool promo. I wasn't going out to stores at that point because that was beginning of COVID and stuff like that. So I think this was 5-ish bucks. Totally worth it. Growth Spiral, I fucking love this card. It's so cool. And it's instant speed, draw a card, put a land from your hand into play. Doesn't seem like much, but it's nice and cheap. Draws you a card, it puts you ahead of the land. It's pretty cool. Gatekeeper of Malakir. This is also one of those FNM promos, and I don't play this card a whole ton, but if I do, I want the promo version. I picked up a foil feather because I have a feather deck, and it's fucking sweet. And this is the current, they're in-store LGS promos. Fabled Passage looks sweet. I got 2 of those. Batterskull, that's this is a Grand Prix promo. This is kind of what I was talking about. I thought I got another one. And so also looks cool. I have a normal Batterskull, and again, I'll put that on Card Sphere and trade that away here. Approach of the Second Sun. This is a promo as well. I was hoping this would be foil. I kind of missed that, but it's different art. It's in-store stuff. I think it's like 2-ish bucks. I wish it was foil. That was my bad. And I think I gave all of mine away to my nephew when I was giving this stuff away, but this is a horror. This came in Commander products back in the day. And so I'm just wanting one for Umbris. Should be kind of cool. We'll see if it fits in there at this point. Spellbane Centaur. Creatures you control can't be the target of blue spells or abilities from blue sources. So if you really hate blue cards, this is a card that you can do. 3 mana seems decent. 3/2. Centaur Tribal is not a thing, but maybe it will be one day. Psychic Surgery. Whenever an opponent shuffles his or her library, you may look at the top 2 cards of them and exile one of those cards, then put the rest on top. Seems kind of cool. It's probably low effect, but I don't know. Kind of seemed cool to me. Pursuit of Knowledge. Skip drawing a card, put a study counter, and then you can remove 3 study counters and sacrifice it to draw 7 cards. It seemed like pretty good white draw. I don't know where I'll do it, put it. It's definitely jank though. Evolution. I'm glad that they kind of reprinted this on the list. Kind of lowered the price just a bit because I sat on this card, didn't want it, but wanted it and then Essex got printed and this card kind of doubled in price. And I was like, fuck, I'm not doing that then either. But this does help all tokens and it has flashback. It seems like a cool card. Hopefully it'll work. Negate, just a pimp version from the list. Mind Moil, another one of those. Whenever you play a spell, put the cards in your hand on the bottom of the library in any order, then draw that many cards. So this kind of like is a weird Teferi's puzzle box for you whenever you play a spell. So it's interesting. Cool. I didn't have one and I want one. So the list is a foil version and there's a couple of locks in there if I ever wanted to get mean, which doesn't happen a whole ton. Aura Shard's got a reprinting in the list and it's a lot cheaper than it used to be right now. So like $5-6 at this point. And so I felt like I should pick up a few more. Swords of Hearth and Home, retro etched foil, and the card is really good. This was like $12-13 on Card Kingdom at this point, and it's a great sword. If you don't have one, get one before it starts going up. Swear to God. And the whole reason for this is my fucking completing the full art foil. I got one of each of these from MH2 and super happy about that. Goblin Lore. It's under $1 right now, but this was a fucking $30 card forever when Phoenix was legal and Faithless Looting was a thing. And so might as well pick up 4 because they're cheap. Plague Spitter. At the beginning of your upkeep, it deals 1 damage to each creature and each player. That's including itself. If it's put into the graveyard from play, Plague Spitter does 1 damage to each creature and each player. So but the big thing, it's a horror, and it's probably going to make its way in Umbris. We'll see what happens. Sludge Monster, it's a horror. Probably not going to make it in there, though. And then 2 Predators Hours. Full art, well worth it, pretty cheap. But until end of turn, creatures you control gain menace, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, exile the top card of your player's library face down. And again, this goes in Umbrus because it's exiling cards. You may look at and play that card for as long as it remains exiled, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast a spell. Super cool. And that is it. That is what $550 worth of Magic cards look like. And it was a lot of fun. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for listening. Bye.